Marijuana has no significant harmful effects on age-related cognitive decline, study shows. This is by Ben Adlin. So one of the myths proposed from Reefer Madness to the current war on drugs is that cannabis rots your brain. Some scientists are desperate to prove this idea, grasping at weak studies that suggest cannabis is associated with psychosis and poor memory. In Denmark, about 10% of the population uses cannabis at least once per year. Also in Denmark, men are required to take an IQ test as they register for the military. In this study of about 5,000 Danish men, an IQ test was taken in early adulthood and then again 40 years later. The results, no significant harmful effects of cannabis on age-related cognition decline. In fact, the report says men with a history of cannabis use had less cognitive decline from early adulthood to midlife compared to men without a history of cannabis use. Among cannabis users, the study adds, neither age of initiation of cannabis use nor frequent use was significantly associated with greater age-related cognitive decline. So to be clear, age-related cognitive decline occurs in both groups. Cannabis users tended to have less decline. The study was published in the journal Brain and Behavior this month. The mean decline was 6.2 IQ points among all 5,162 Danish men. However, those who use cannabis average a decline of only 4.9 IQ points. The authors acknowledge that the lesser decline was modest and might not have clinical significance. Still, the findings align with past studies that found no difference in cognitive decline between cannabis users and non-users. Paul Armentano, deputy director of NORML, said the study's findings contradicted one of the more prominent and long-standing stereotypes about cannabis consumers. It is unfortunate that these stereotypes often go unchallenged in the media and elsewhere, Armentano said. It is even more unfortunate that studies refuting these long-term stereotypes seldom receive the type of mainstream attention they deserve. The authors of the study note the less cognitive decline may reflect the characteristics of the cannabis users rather than the direct effects of cannabis itself. For example, cannabis users tended to have a higher baseline IQ and education levels, and they also tended to smoke more tobacco and consume more alcohol, the team wrote. Hence, it is reasonable to assume that additional unmeasured factors might influence this association, potentially confounding the results. Nevertheless, our findings align with previous in vivo studies indicating that cannabinoids have a positive impact on cognitive function and memory in rats. Another study published by the American Medical Association earlier this year found that working memory, reward, and inhibitory control were not significantly affected after a year of cannabis consumption. A third study found that a low dose of D9 THC had anti-aging effects on the brain by restoring new cognitive abilities and neural synapse densities in old mice. And yet another study published earlier this year in the journal Current Alzheimer Research found that people who consumed cannabis reported less confusion and memory loss than non-users. So what do you think? Could it be that cannabis makes older people smarter? It doesn't appear to hurt and may even prevent cognitive decline. Should healthcare providers recommend cannabis to the elderly? Scientists are still debating that issue. However, recommending cannabis to the elderly may have significant effects on cognitive health, wellness, and the cost of care in this demographic. This is Dr. Jean Talleyrand with High 9 News.
Interesting. Their cognitive incline, you said, Dr. T, right? Decline. I was about to be like, man, the cognitive incline.
Dementia, forgetful.
Man, oh man. What do you think about this, Dr. Mark? Dr. Mark, you with us?
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. I think it's great news. Cognitive decline, yes. This has been in the news lately, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't want to throw any gas on the political fire, but
Yeah.
I think we all know people in our life that have have had cognitive decline. It's there's been a lot of attention paid to a particular individual who's had cognitive decline, but it happened. Yeah, I could see it in my parents. I could see it in people I know. Yeah, I mean, this is common. It's getting old, right, Dr. T? And is cannabis and psychedelics basically the fountain of youth? Is it something that could help push back the clock a little bit and help with patients who are in cognitive decline?
Yeah, well,
I can see a.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say I could see a pretty cool ad down the line by one of these companies saying marijuana, it won't make grandma dumber.
Oh wow.
I work with dispensaries helping them, expand their demographic. And most of the time when I go in dispensaries, there's a younger demographic, not so much the elderly. And I can understand why, because a lot of times the dispensary owners hire kids, and who wants to come in and ask a kid about their symptoms, right? But I think that this is something that could save the dispensaries if they expand their demographic and look at the baby boomer population who tends to have money, who tends to have medical illnesses, who tends to have cognitive decline. And this is an evidence that that cannabis, the products that you guys are selling, are maybe helpful for them. So I don't know. I think it's an indication to the industry to do some pivoting and open up the idea of different types of customers coming in.
Isn't part of the problem though too, Dr. T, that a lot of these products that because they don't have to I don't want to say repeat buy, but they last longer than someone that's coming in to purchase an eighth, which can be gone in anywhere from a day to, what I'm saying, by the end of the week, as opposed to if you're buying a bottle of tincture or something like that, which could last a patient for up to a month or so. You know what I mean? Like you have to 30x that clientele just to meet that same customer foot traffic as someone that would buy an eighth a day.
It's an interesting question. I think actually that the person who requires the cannabis on a daily basis for medical issues will end up spending more money at your store than the weed smoker who smokes on the weekends. And so I think you end up selling more products. Plus, this demographic has more money to spend than the kids.
I agree with that part.
So it's a positive either way.
I do agree with that part.
I think it's absolutely perplexing, like how much evidence we've seen over the years about the elderly being the prime target of they should be the prime target of legal dispensaries. All these legal dispensaries going out of business. Why? Because you're chasing after that same $5 that Gen Z does not have. The people that have the money, the deepest pockets, are the elderly community. And you should be going after them, after the mature buyers. And this is just more ammo for you to target them. But everybody wants to be cool, though.
Fair enough.
I mean, I think it also makes it difficult because regulations decide what we can and cannot say as far as making medical claims. So in order to do that and educate at that level in a dispensary setting, you would have to hire someone who is going to be much more expensive than that $17 to $20 an hour bud tender that you have, right? But I think that would be a nod to the fact that we do actually care about the population that we're serving, and we are actually coming at this to try and help people as opposed to just sell weed. So I think, we did a really cool thing with you, Cameron. We had Nurse Amy, who is amazing. Shout out to her. The products initially were formulated for her son who had a tragic accident at a very young age. So you could, no matter if you bought our $19 roll-on or our most expensive tinctures or packs of whatever, you had absolute access to call and actually speak one-on-one to Nurse Amy. You could talk about things like drug interactions. You could talk about things that that were really mattering and patients needed to know and needed to understand to be comfortable adding a cannabinoid-based formula into their daily routine. So I think, as we move forward, we'll see the people who actually care about the community, the people who actually care about providing some kind of assistance and some kind of help beyond the fact that, yes, it'll drive revenue for you. It's going to cost more. But where is your heart in this? Do you care about people getting better? Do you care about advancing this as a medicine? Or, what are your true intentions?
Mm-hmm.
I think this would be a excellent place for Kim Rivers to have put that $140 million in Florida into educating the elderly rather than behind ballot or Amendment 3. Just saying.
Oh man, I feel so bad for all those stockholders.
About her own past physical health. Why would she care about helping the general public? She's only medical until she can go rec.
Mm-hmm. Fair. That's a good point too, Jenny Beth. And on that, we're going to go into a commercial and we're going to be right back.